To begin with our proposed public policy, Indiana AAUW affirms AAUW's longstanding commitment to equal rights for all. We support the following: efforts to preserve and protect civil rights guaranteed by the United States Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Public budgets that balance individual rights and responsibility to community. Efforts to improve racial, ethnic, and gender diversity. Equal access to the political process regardless of race, gender, or financial status. Pay equity and equal opportunity for job promotion and advancement.
Is there any discussion on that first section? And please do glance down quickly over the other sections. And at this time, I'd also like to tell you that our Indiana Public Policy agenda is aligned with National AAUW. Now, if there are changes that happen with our national vote, and that Sharon will walk us through that later today. If there are changes, then we will also realign. But even the proposals are in alignment, and some of the national public policy reflects ours in the past.
Indiana AAUW believes that public education is the foundation of a democratic society. We support academic freedom, educational equity, and gender fairness, affordable post-secondary educational opportunities, full funding for mandated public education programs pre-kindergarten through post-secondary education, including longer classroom learning time and a longer school year for K-12. Vigorous enforcement of Title IX, including gender equity in STEM education as well as in sports.
Is there any discussion on the second section?
You will note that while we are definitely in line with national policy, we have made this Indiana friendly as well, as noted by the pre-kindergarten reference and STEM education and education in sports as well. And you may notice some other Indiana flavor below. Indiana AAUW promotes the social and economic well-being of all. We support continued legislative funding for the Indiana Commission for Women, education and enforceable legislation and intervention for victims of sexual assault and domestic violence, an equitable and fiscally responsible Social Security program which recognizes the disadvantages that women face, advocacy for harassment-free climates, enforceable legislation against intimidation and hate crimes, and acknowledging the legal rights of victims.
Any discussion on that section? As far as harassment, AAUW was first, and it came up again at our board meeting last night. Remember the first research report on harassment-free hallways? Well, now it's called bullying. It's the same problem.
Indiana AAUW promotes the health and well-being of all. We support the right to safe, affordable, understandable, and accessible physical and mental health care, responsibility and choice in the determination of one's productive life, measures that ensure equity in health care, including aggressive research and complete insurance coverage for the particular needs of all women and girls, affordable prescriptions and health coverage for all citizens regardless of income and pre-existing conditions, licensed, adequate, and affordable dependent care, and promotion of health and disease prevention screenings and programs.
Any discussion? This section was probably changed the most by your board of directors and updated. Yes?
With the governor about to sign the funding of Planned Parenthood, what can we do to stop that?
Did he sign last night?
We were in meeting, did he sign?
I think he did.
I think, well, as of last night, he said that he planned to, and said he was about to announce his run for presidency. They are connected, so.
I will say later on, one of the things we were going to announce is that Indiana AAUW is going to become a group member of the Health Alliance protection advocacy organization here in Indiana. You have to join as a group, not as an individual, but there's a number of religious and nonprofit organizations such as our partners like League of Women Voters, Church Women United, and so forth that belong to this. And we will then have a larger voice in a group to see if we can get this overturned.
Okay. Yeah.
Indiana AAUW believes that global interdependence requires national and international policies that promote peace, social justice, human rights, sustainable development, and mutual security for all people. We support a strengthened United Nations and its affiliated agencies and international programs that address human rights and the concerns of women and girls in developing countries, such as CEDAW and CARE. CEDAW is a United Nations conference convention that states that, and CARE is an organization that AAUW National is a partner with.
Any discussion on that section?
With Indiana ranking 49th in the nation in environmental quality, we heard 46th in educational from Dr. Hanklin, 49th in environmental quality, Indiana AAUW recognizes the importance of protecting and improving our environment. We support energy conservation, which focuses on air and water quality, aggressive recycling, and sustainable agriculture. Comprehensive legislation regulating landfill expansion and waterway contamination, preservation of natural resources and public land, and a 21st century public transportation system.
This was the other section that was updated by your board. Is there any discussion on environmental quality?
Indiana AAUW advocates for the recognition of women's worth. We support increasing the number of women in elective and appointed offices and in policy-making positions. Recognition of the value and efforts of volunteerism and caregiving.
Any discussion? Maybe getting more women in elective offices is the answer
Yes,
to the question before.
yes.
Indiana AAUW realizes the importance of the arts and humanities. We support public and private funding for the arts, preservation of funding for public libraries and media services in light of the current budget cuts, establishment and maintenance of Hoosier historic sites, including the Indiana Women's History Trail.
Any discussion on the last section? I'm sure that you can tell that a lot of hours in October of 2010 at our board meeting in Fort Wayne went into this document. We're sad to say that many of the sections not necessarily remained intact, but they're still there. But we can't focus on that because it gets a little bit too depressing. If there's no further discussion on the legislative program, which we term public policy, which will be 2011-2013, and remember, this document will be your best aid in programming and in collaboration and in what I like to call action projects. Remember the old study groups? Well, get rid of that word study groups. We've studied and we've got people doing research in AUW all the time. I think it's time to do something. So whenever you can partner and collaborate and make your voice louder, this is a good document to use. Since there is no further discussion, the question is on the adoption of Public Policy 2011-2013. All those in favor of its adoption, say aye.